First at noon, at least 2 children are dead and 17 other people are injured after a shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis this morning. The shooter is also dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Lana Zach has details on this developing story.
Parents walked hand in hand with their children away from Annunciation Catholic School, tears flowing after a deadly shooting during a morning mass.
2 young children, ages 8 and 10, were killed where they sat in the pews. 17 other people were injured, 14 of them being children.
Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says the shooter was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol, and opened fire from outside the church.
It was maybe 3 minutes in, the first shot fired.
5th grader Weston Halsney says he was 2 seats away from the stained glass windows.
The first one, I was like, what is that? I thought it was just something. Then when I heard it again, I just ran under the pew, and then I covered my head. My friend Victor saved me though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit.
Sources tell CBS News the shooter was 23-year-old Robin Westman. Police are investigating the possible motive.
There are no words that can capture the horror.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey asked the public to think of these children as their own.
Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
This was just the 3rd day of the new school year for Annunciation Catholic School, which goes from pre-K to 8th grade. Lana Zach, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Here at home, Governor Josh Green has ordered the U.S. and Hawaii state flags to be flown at half-staff at all state offices and agencies in honor of the victims in Minneapolis until sunset on Sunday. The flags will then remain at half-staff until sunset on Monday in honor of fallen Maui police officer Suzanne O, who was killed in the line of duty. Funeral services for Officer O will be held on August 29th. One new development, the suspected arsonist of the August 23rd wildfire in Kunia has been arrested and charged. HPD's CID Major Crimes Detail obtained an arrest warrant for Antonio Vieira. The 7-year-old was apprehended this morning just before 9 near North Kukui Street and Nu'uanu Avenue. His bail has been set at $50,000. Meanwhile, Army wildland firefighters and helicopter crews are still battling a brush fire that's burned at least 250 acres at Schofield Barracks. At last check, flames were 30% contained. The Army says the fire started while soldiers were training with full-range practice rounds, and the heat likely ignited grass in the impacted area. Smoke may be visible nearby for communities, but the Army says there are no homes being threatened. A crash involving a moped and an HPD vehicle shut down a portion of Kapi'olani Boulevard this morning. It happened at around 4 near Pensacola Street. According to police, the officer had their lights and siren activated when they went through a red light, crashing into the moped. The 25-year-old man was thrown onto the roadway. He was not wearing a helmet and was rushed to the hospital in serious condition. The HPD officer was not injured. At this time, it's unknown if speed, drugs, or alcohol were factors in the crash. The Kapalua Golf Course on Maui is closing for 2 months in an effort to save the grass on the world-famous course, known as the starting point for the PGA Tour. Managers hope a slow-releasing fertilizer and a break from customers will allow healthy grass to return. The decision comes in the middle of a dispute over the handling of Maui's century-old water system. The resort's owner is among plaintiffs in a lawsuit against Maui Land and Pineapple over the maintenance of a stream and ditch system that supplies irrigation water to the area. The closure will begin on September 2nd. A Tesla that ended up in the ocean along Kamehameha Highway near Crouching Lion Tuesday morning was pulled out of the water late in the afternoon. HFD tells us they were called to the scene at around 7:30 a.m. yesterday. The driver was able to get out of the vehicle on his own. EMS was called to make sure he was okay. No word on why the vehicle ended up in the water. And on Hawaii Island, a tow truck was needed to pull a truck out of Honokohau Harbor. A Ford F-150 rolled into the water just before noon yesterday. Witnesses say the pickup's brakes malfunctioned as the driver was pulling his boat out. The truck then slid back on the algae-covered ramp and sank in 10 feet of water. Thankfully, the person in charge of getting it out, Jill Bianchini, with Theo's Towing in Kona, was already dressed for the job as she was preparing for a day at the beach.
I'm taking chains in, swimming with chains in my bathing suit. Midday, there's a bunch of people around. I didn't have fins. I didn't even have a mask to see what I was doing. So, people were passing me the mask and the proper fins so that I could get down there. It's not something you see every day. And that's not something I do every day either. So it was crazy.
Bianchini, who's been working for her dad's towing company for the past 5 years, says this has been her most memorable job to date. Hawaii's public school students are seeing new items on their lunch trays this school year. The Department of Education says the new offerings blend locally sourced ingredients with food trends and students' feedback. Menu items include hamburger curry with local ulu and kalo, scratch-made chicken adobo, and the classic mac and cheese with chicken tenders. A visit to Holomua Elementary School showed some of the toughest food critics are pleased.
This is my exact reaction. And because it's so amazing, they're upgrading the menu to make it very, very nice. So yeah, that's amazing.
We had chicken adobo and it was amazing. I wanted seconds. I had it in different types of style, but this one is kind of my favorite.
The DOE says the new offerings took nearly a year to plan, from brainstorming ideas to sourcing the ingredients. On Kauai, the marina at Wailua River is partially closed after a tour barge sunk, impacting businesses and prompting an investigation from the U.S. Coast Guard. The incident forced several tour operations to cancel their excursions yesterday. The Coast Guard says it was notified at 7 a.m. Tuesday morning that a 60-foot cruise barge named Ronnie K had sunk and it slipped in the Wailua River. The DLNR says a spill of diesel fuel and oil was from a partially sunken motor attachment to the rear of the vessel. The company's Smith Fern Grotto Tours told Hawaii News Now it discovered the problem when employees came to work.
It has to be a hectic and chaotic. It's unfortunate. I do know that they take very good care of their fleet. They take a lot of pride in that business, so I'm sure it was difficult for them as well, but I know that they'll rebound.
More than a dozen kayak tour businesses operate in the area, and some said the incident forced them to cancel their morning tours. The Coast Guard says the cause is currently under investigation, and the State Land Department says the spill was contained, and the owner of the vessel, Smith's Motor Boat, will be responsible for the remaining cleanup. The marina is partially closed, but kayak companies say they're relieved the public boat ramp is open. The push to renovate the Waikiki War Memorial Natatorium is losing support as the estimated cost now exceeds $50 million. The nearly 100-year-old ocean pool has been closed for safety reasons for more than 40 years. The Friends of the Natatorium is willing to raise money to restore public swimming with a new platform that allows water to flow through the structure. But Honolulu's mayor said on Spotlight Now yesterday that given the cost and liability issues, he no longer believes renovation is practical or affordable.
I think it's really a long shot. So I'm saddened to say that, and I realize that some people are going to be upset with my say because I wanted to save it, if you will, and see what we could do. But one of the things that I've learned, you've got to accept reality for what it is on some of the things, and I want to be honest with the people.
Get rid of the bleachers, get rid of the pool, and turn the pool into a beach, so we can add over 100 yards of new beach to Waikiki that will be accessible by local people.
The mayor said a final decision has not been made, but he is still committed to maintaining the memorial wall on the shore.
How's it on this Wednesday? It's going to be another great day today. Trade winds will be picking up speed in the afternoon. Going to be mostly dry through the day. We could get a few stray windward showers, but if we get those, if we're lucky enough to get them, they won't amount to very much. And there'll likely be a few showers overnight for those windward and Mocha areas. And those trade winds running breezy today, lighter tomorrow. Now, heads up, we are expecting a south-southwest swell to start picking up, but not till late today. Should be bigger tomorrow and on Friday.
Thank you, Guy. President Trump is extending federal control over the nation's capital with a takeover of a major transit hub. It comes as a top official at the Fed moves forward with a lawsuit challenging the president's unprecedented move to fire her. Erica Brown has more from the White House.
With armed National Guard troops patrolling the nation's capital, the Trump administration is now taking control of Washington's main transportation hub.
We're going to do our part to make sure that people feel safe at Union Station.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced the plan Wednesday amid President Trump's crackdown on crime in the district.
If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says she spoke with President Trump earlier in the day and says the takeover has helped lower crime.
The difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C.
In a social media post overnight, the president wrote he's working with Republican congressional leaders on a comprehensive crime bill, saying it's what the country needs and now. President Trump is facing a legal battle challenging his attempt to fire Federal Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook by pointing to allegations of mortgage fraud.
We need people that are 100% above board.
CBS News has obtained the mortgage documents included in a letter to the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. They show Cook purchased a home in Michigan in 2021 before she joined the Fed, then another in Georgia that same year, declaring both as her primary residence. The matter has been referred to the Justice Department, but no formal criminal charges have been filed.
If I were her in her circumstance, I would take leave right now. I think it's the honorable thing to do.
Cook's attorney says Trump's attempt to fire her lacks any factual or legal basis. Cook is vowing to continue her work at the Fed as her legal challenge moves forward.
A tremendous amount of equipment to NATO. We're not spending any money.
Ahead on This Is Now, a fight over hazard pay for fire crews who faced COVID risks. Plus, what's causing the price of beef to rise to record levels? We'll have that story in 2 minutes. of beef has been steadily increasing over the past year, now reaching record levels with ground beef and steaks 12% more expensive compared to 2024. Photojournalist Jack Doherty finds out what's causing the price hike.
We are in the middle of a classic cattle cycle in the United States, which happens every so often. We are at the lowest cattle inventory in the country by some metrics, the lowest since 1950.
Probably 10 years we've seen cattle numbers slowly going down, and that limits supplies within the United States. But we produce a really great product that people like, not just here but across the world. So we have a good demand for our product.
Last year today we were buying heifers for $2.30 a pound and steers for $2.60 a pound, and today they have costed like $3.30 to $4 on some of these steers, and these heifers are still rising.
Farmers are cooling cows more often than they would otherwise because of the incentive that the high cattle prices are there.
We're enjoying these beef prices while they last. We know they will not last forever.
Great time for the American farmer. He can actually pay some of his land and some of his equipment cost and operating costs compared to previous years where you're just kind of floating by.
Honolulu firefighters who faced COVID exposure during the pandemic are pushing for hazard pay. The city budgeted $150 million to compensate essential workers, but some firefighters feel they're getting shortchanged. Jared Kravitsky explains.
Back when our beaches were closed and families were on lockdown, Honolulu firefighters were on the front lines of the pandemic. Case in Clooney was a recruit, getting real-world training.
We're being up close and personal with them because they are sick. They are having trouble breathing, they're having chest pain, they're dizzy, and all the symptoms of COVID.
5 years later, the city has compensated most essential workers, including police officers, government employees, and healthcare workers, many receiving hazard pay totaling tens of thousands of dollars. But not Honolulu's firefighters, because their contracts at the time had no provision for it. Despite that, the city is still offering $7,500 to firefighters and other workers with similar contracts, such as bus operators. But firefighters such as Clooney, who risk bringing the virus home to vulnerable loved ones, would like more.
It is a gift and it is an award from the city and county government. They can do what they want with it. However, when we feel that we were there in the midst of it all, being first responders, face to face with these patients who are really sick.
Honolulu's managing director said in a statement, "We understand some individuals are unhappy with the distribution of temporary hazard pay, but the city has carefully followed the rules governing THP payments while simultaneously honoring our financial capacity to pay THP to employees." At a private meeting Tuesday night between HFD, city officials, and union leaders, no one would share details on what was discussed, but several inside described it as positive. Derek Kravitsky, Hawaii News Now.
A more than $324 million lawsuit against the city and the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation has been dismissed. The Honolulu Star-Advertiser reports that a circuit court judge determined that Hitachi Rail Honolulu overstated the delays in the project. The city filed motions to dismiss the breach of contract lawsuit in January. The Advertiser says the company could refile its claim because some of the claims were dismissed without prejudice. Well, let's take a look outside with our tower cam at Honolulu Harbor on this Aloha Wednesday. Guys, gonna have your full forecast coming up in 2 minutes.
Alert Weather with Guy Hug.
How's it on this Wednesday? 87 days into hurricane season, still very quiet here in the Central Pacific. We got a little disturbance down to the south, not expected to develop into a cyclone. So that's very good news. It's very dry this morning. Take a look at that. Really, just a few minor splashes here and there. And these very dry conditions are expected to persist for the next several days. These winds aren't expected to persist, though. They will run breezy today, especially from Maui to Kauai. Lighter winds over in Kona. And because of those lighter winds, those stronger winds today, humidity levels not that high, right? Should be a pretty nice day, fairly dry through the day, maybe a stray shower or two. And overnight hours, we'll likely see a few spotty showers for some windward areas. Lighter winds are expected by tomorrow. Also expected by tomorrow, a bigger swell coming into South Shores. Today, it's going to be relatively small. This south swell will begin picking up late in the day into tonight. It's going to be bigger tomorrow and on Friday for South and Southwest Shores. And with those lighter winds, conditions should be pretty good. But that swell will be below advisory levels. So we're in for a long stretch of mostly dry weather. There's not going to be a whole lot of rain out there. If anything, when the winds lighten up tomorrow, we'll likely see some afternoon clouds and perhaps a few afternoon spotty showers that will clear in the overnight hours. So again, significant rainfall not expected anytime soon. And with those slower winds starting tomorrow, it's going to be a long run of small kind of sticky weather.
Thank you, Guy. Meanwhile, fires and storms are causing more damage in the West. Firefighters battling a series of wildfires in California and Oregon are starting to gain ground thanks to cooler and damper weather. But the change in the weather has put more than 2 million people under flood watches. Rob Marciano has more.
Monsoonal storms sweeping the West are bringing flash floods from New Mexico to California.
Okay, so we are in the middle of a boob.
It's the same weather system that brought a massive dust storm to the Phoenix area Monday, forcing drivers to pull over to the side of the road. The extreme weather equally challenging on the fire lines. In central Oregon, the flat fire has burned more than 23,000 acres and is still threatening thousands of homes. Firefighters there took advantage of the cooler weather on Tuesday to strengthen containment lines before the heat and wind return in the coming days.
Fire season isn't over, but it is very possible that we could have, a few more fires before, October.
In Nevada, the gate in and out of Black Rock City was closed Tuesday night because of rain and possible lightning. The wild weather there continues to put a damper on Burning Man. Rob Marciano, CBS News.
Still to come, if you've always wanted to be a Guinness World Record holder, we have a list of some unclaimed titles to give you inspiration. That story in 2 minutes. universities are allowing pets in campus residences. The animals can help reduce stress, anxiety, and homesickness. The University of Northern Colorado allows pets in 3 of its campus residence halls. They have to be at least 6 months old and under 40 pounds.
I think it's just how unconditionally they love, regardless of what you're going through. They just want to be your center of attention, and that takes your mind off of everything.
Colleges with pet-friendly dorms have to weigh the impact of those animals, including safety concerns, noise issues, and of course, cleaning considerations. Guinness World Records is turning 70, and it's marking the milestone by highlighting jaw-dropping record holders from around the world. From the New Orleans basketball prodigy dribbling the most basketballs at once, that's 6, to the longest human tunnel traveled by a skateboarding dog in Peru. Guinness has more than 53,000 records in its database, and on its 70th birthday, it's releasing 70 unclaimed titles for anyone itching to make history.
The imagination of people around the world is endless. And there's always new things happening, you know. There's technology gives you new ideas. We have had, for example, a lot of drones-related records recently. We're looking into AI records now.
Okay, so records still up for grabs include the most high fives in 30 seconds, the fastest time to blow a postage stamp 32 feet, and the most whoopee cushions sat on in 1 minute. There you go.